I just wanna get out of here.
On this episode of Suddenly Single, we not only have a VIP, but I think it's our very first aristocrat, and I'm slightly nervous.
Don't be. She's here to tell me whether my pearls are real and about the real loves of her life.
Yeah. Just wanna get out of here.
So we have with us today Lady Colin Campbell, author of multiple best-selling books, including Diana in Private and Harry and Meghan, The Real Story. You are a mum of two, and you're here to talk to us today about what it's like to be single and whether you would date again, as well as some of your past. Because for me, if you became prominent, didn't you, back in 1974, really, when you went to New York and you met your husband. And you got married, and that didn't last very long, did it? You were divorced within 9 months, and then as you
No, we were divorced within 14 months.
14 months.
14
Oh,
months.
I'm sorry, I got
We
that wrong.
separated for the second time after 9 months, then got back together. But the press don't know about all of that.
Because you did say, these are your words, not mine, you were all over the gutter press, as you call us.
Yes. No. But you're not the gutter press.
No, not me
But
personally.
I was. The Sunday People, the Sunday Mirror, the News of the Screws, you name it.
You were there.
For those
all over the world, not only in England.
For those that weren't aware of that story at the time, why were the press so interested in that story of you splitting up? Was it because it was peers involved and it was very glamorous?
I was born with a birth defect, which, when I was born, meant that you were registered as a boy, even though you weren't.
That must have been a very, very traumatic period of your life.
Oh, it was horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't make it up. 25 years old.
Yeah.
And
Of having to deal with things that you hadn't willingly discussed. You didn't get married again. Was that because you'd done the marriage thing and you didn't need to do the marriage thing and you could be more independent, or you just never found the right guy again?
well, funnily enough, I expected to be married within a year or two.
After
to be
the first
remarried.
Yeah.
And I certainly had the opportunity.
Yeah.
There were one or two men who were very desirable, good looking, everything, nice families, enough money. And one of whom I ended up with having a 15-year relationship with. James was everything that I wanted, and I, fortunately, was everything he wanted.
Fantastic.
That when I was in therapy, I discovered, because every time anybody mentioned the word marriage, I would be cast back to when I was 12 years old in my bedroom at home, reading an Edgar Allan Poe story where he's experimenting with killing somebody, and he creates a coffin and he tries it out and traps himself in it and kills it. And my therapist is the one who pointed out to me that I had an absolute horror. And then I realized that I did have a horror of marriage as a result of what had happened with the breakup of my marriage. But it really wasn't a horror of marriage. It was a horror of, if the marriage didn't work out, would I be put through the ringer for a second time?
But I mean, one of the things you did want to do, it took you about 20 years after your marriage, but you wanted to become a mum.
Yes.
And so you adopted two boys
Yes.
from Russia. Is that partly because there was Russian in your family, or it was easier to adopt there, or what was the reason for Russia?
Well, I mean, it was a happy coincidence that it was Russia. Sorry, it's the fact that we are part Russian.
Yeah.
It was just actually a trivial and unrelated coincidence, but a happy one. The fact that Michael Manley, who was the Prime Minister of Jamaica, but Michael Manley did one good thing. By allying Jamaica with Russia, it meant that it was very easy for me as a Jamaican, not as a Brit, but as a Jamaican, to adopt in Russia. Wow. I mean, this was in 1990 and 1991 and 1992. It was virtually unheard of for a single woman to adopt.
I bet. Another trailblazer moment.
But I didn't think of it like that.
No, that trailblazers never do. So you had 2 sons, and your children are now grown. Do you get involved in choosing their partners or giving advice or any something that your parents would have done for you? Do you step back and completely change?
Your boys are in their 30s.
They're 32.
Okay.
Well, my parents didn't actually give any of us advice in terms of they just made it clear what we were supposed to do.
It's not advice, it was a rule and a law.
Yeah, there was no advice. It was a rule and you were supposed to live up to the rules. And I have to say, I think I've most likely done the same thing with my children.
Oh, really?
My children have had a series of girlfriends and I have only ever once disapproved of one. Why does she have her arm on your leg? Take it off. No PDAs, sort of thing. But
Public displays of okay.
Do you think public displays of affection are a no?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
If you're going to be a bitch on heat, try to do it in private.
Okay.
But
I'm learning.
I actually made it clear that I found the whole thing unacceptable. And it then ran its course.
So you're protective of your sons, but you allow them to make their own decisions and mistakes.
Absolutely.
Do you think Prince Harry, if we can still call him Prince Harry, would have had less of a problem if he'd met somebody through his social circle that was more regimented rather than an American actress that had come over?
Well,
he'd certainly have a different lifestyle, wouldn't he?
There's greater access now, and therefore there's greater opportunity for both expansiveness and regressiveness, let's put it that way. And
gold diggers.
the fact of the gold diggers is a very good way of putting it. Harry had 1 or 2 really nice girlfriends. And he had wonderful taste in girls. The problem is that after a point, when the excitement of being with a prince and the possibility of being a royal duchess, and after all of that has worn thin, it had no appeal. But even in my generation, several of my friends could have married into the royal family, 1 or 2 of whom are royal themselves. And they didn't want to do it.
Why?
Because it's so restrictive.
Maybe Harry just needed space, though, to be himself and get away from it all. And
he could have left and everything could have gone completely differently. And it would have gone brilliantly. Had they gone to America, had they chosen to remain a regal as opposed to being trashy and bitchy and inventing all sorts of problems that they didn't really have. Let's face facts. How convincing a victim can you be if you are the Queen of Great Britain's grandson and the King of England's son? How much of a candidate really should you be for pity from people, from, say, the person on the shop floor in Dagenham or somebody in Wichita, Kansas, who's behind a Subway counter? Give me a break, You need...
He did lose his mum, though, didn't he? So that was, I think, that the nation embraced the fact, because bereavement cuts across any social strata.
Yes, but it does. But also, it's not an excuse forever.
No. But I think there's more chapters to come, isn't there, with Prince Harry, probably? There'll be certain other things that will probably happen along the way, and good luck with him.
I'm sure there will be, but to bring it back to Lady Colin.
Go on.
If you don't mind. I feel talking to you that the social hierarchy is still quite an important thing, and that you wouldn't be happy with somebody who didn't who didn't have great manners, who didn't come from a family that understood naturally the kind of world that you've always lived in. So that by its very nature, that makes it quite a small pool of men that you would even entertain.
On the contrary, my dear, when I was 27 or 28, I had a roaring affair with Larry Lamb.
Well, was. Do you know what? That is on my question, but I was going to go out with that one. Was he the one that got away?
No.
No.
I mean, Larry is a great
good-looking
guy.
man as well.
He was gorgeous looking. He's still a good-looking man. And Larry has impeccable manners. My cousin and my brother both agreed that Daddy would have loved Larry.
Oh.
Because notwithstanding the
There's nothing
fact
not to
Larry
love.
was from a working class background, he had impeccable manners. He was a decent person. He was intelligent. He was hardworking. So the fact that he didn't come from our world was neither here nor there. Larry, I used to say, is one of nature's aristocrats.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love that.
But having said that, it quickly became apparent that Larry was not going to be an ideal husband for the long haul. Let's
Right.
put it that way.
Lady C, ever go on a dating app? Have you ever been on that?
I don't think you'd do a dating app, but would you do an expensive dating agency?
Well, I did Celebs Go Dating.
You did?
I did Celebs Go Dating, but I made it absolutely clear I was just doing it for the money.
Well,
for
we've got to
Castle
ask about
Goring.
this. So you bought a beautiful pad that needed a lot of money spending on it, Goring. Is it a castle or
Castle
is it
Goring.
Castle Goring? And you call it whoring for Goring.
Yes.
So you have to go out and make money wherever you
Yeah.
can to
Yeah.
pay for tiles or this and that and the
Yeah.
other. That means that you've done lots of interesting things over the years that we all go, wow, I'm not sure I could do that, including I'm a Celeb. Was that because of Goring?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
They-
So what did that pay like for, I don't know, septic tanks and a
that
roof?
helped to pay for the roof. But they'd been after me for the previous 12 years, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
And they'd asked me twice before, and my son Dima, I'd never heard of it because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really look at television. And the second time that they asked, I actually went into the offices which were by the Royal Festival Hall on the South Bank.
On the Thames, yeah.
And I made it absolutely clear that if I was going to do it, I expected them to pay through the nose.
Yeah.
And they shrewdly decided when they read that I'd bought Goring that was the time to try. And I actually said, oh, I think I'll do it. And my son Dima said, oh, you're much too old now. You should have done it years ago. No. I said, well, I need to do it now because I'm whoring for Goring. But the good thing about it is that the public, which I'd never seen the program. I'd seen 5 minutes when Martina Navratilova was on and 10 minutes when Carol Thatcher was on, because Carol's a friend and I know Martina slightly. So I looked, I thought, I'd never really seen it. So I had no idea about it, how big it was or anything. But the upshot of it was that people took me to their hearts. They actually liked me. And I can tell you, after 42 years of being abused by the press, it's quite a revelation to discover that they have, and people come up to me even now on the street.
Fantastic.
And
Good.
so that was the unexpected good thing that happened from it.
Are you dating now, or are you happily ensconced?
Darling, I'm much too busy to be bothering with men.
But if you were to meet a nice one, would you still be open to that possibility?
Well, funny enough, there was somebody I met the other day who, within an hour of meeting me, he said, blah, 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 blah. And I thought,
Too keen.
no, I said to him, the reality is I'm much too busy. I said, I have a very interesting life. I have no time to do most of what I should be doing, which is true. I mean, sometimes weeks go by before I get around to doing the simplest thing that I'm supposed, because I'm so busy. I said, and the reality is that I don't have the time for a man. I said, and also there's a practicality of a man. I said, because is he going to be able to give me, in a worldly sense, what I would have to forego to make time for him? I said, and then there's a practicality of, well, it's all too early for any of this to be discussed, and I'm not giving up my life. I mean, I'm not interested.
What you need is a good roofer or a builder, good with their hands, and they can keep you working on the castle.
She's got dogs.
Yeah, well, and some well, there you go, walk the dogs
I think
as
dogs
well.
is a great substitute.
We've got an expert that we would love to bring in that's a confidence expert, and I don't think you need, well, amongst other things, but she's very good at shining a light on our foibles.
Yeah. Just wanna get out of here.
I don't date.
Yeah.
I refused to date after I left my husband.
Really? Why?
Because I said I'm not a seal jumping through a hoop in a bloody circus. And
What age were you at that point? When
25.
So you stopped dating, but you dated Larry Lamb after that.
Well, I didn't say I dated him. I went out with him.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I've been on a date since
Right.
I was 25.
What's your take on our dating woes or stories?
Well, I would quite like to know. So, when's the last time you went out with somebody?
What? With a man?
Yeah, romantically. When's the last time you had a romantic moment with somebody?
Well, it depends what you mean by romantic.
Well, what do you mean by romantic? I mean, this is great.
There was-
We're going to have
okay.
definitions in a minute. We're going to have to get a lawyer in to say what is the definition.
Okay, let's nail it properly.
Oh, okay.
Carnal potential.
Oh, he got right to the jugular.
And
Carnal
I met
potential.
somebody at a concert in, I think it was October or November, and he was embarrassingly smitten. Which I have to say, I wasn't that put off by. It's really
It's
rather
nice to be
And was there
wanted.
any,
But I went, I actually touched upon him a bit earlier.
Okay.
And so we spoke on the phone, blah, 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 da, da, da. I went out to lunch with him. And I pointed out to him that, I've never been romantic. Never. I was brought up to not be romantic. And I'm not romantic by nature. I'm very down to earth. I'm very practical. I'm very loving, and I expect something to have meaning, but and it needs to have purpose. But I mean, I've never been the sort that cared about flowers. I mean, I'd much rather that you be there and literally there than that you bring flowers and I'm not interested in pie in the sky. I think in a worldly sense, I pretty much all my life had everything. So do flowers make a bit of difference? I mean,
What about love? When's the last time you were in love?
oh, that would have been with James.
What year was that?
70s to the 90s.
It's a long time.
And
Well, some people actually,
interested.
when we ask them, have never been in love. So it's amazing. Some people say, actually, I'm not sure I really was in love. Or I thought I was in love, but the way they behaved meant it wasn't love.
well, I definitely have been in love more than once. But,
Really? You're
but
very lucky.
with James, James started to take me for granted. And I warned him. I said, James, you're taking me for granted, and I don't like being taken for granted. And you could see, she's a typical woman. Oh, no. And I used to say, no, I really mean it. And I used to say, you are eating into the regard that I have for you, is how I'd put it. And you could see him say, and he used to say, oh, well, we've been together since we were in our 20s. We will be together for the rest of our lives. And I used to say, excuse me, don't bank on it. And I'm very practical like that. And I say, no, don't bank on it. And but he persisted. Like he'd reached the stage where he was now sufficiently relaxed that I should tolerate him taking me for granted.
Right.
And since we had been together for so long, that meant that we were going to be together forever. And I was just, and I thought, I don't need this. I really don't need this. That's not what I signed up for. And if I'm going to end up in that sort of relationship, I don't need the relationship.
So you were getting less out of it more than you were putting in by that point.
No, I was getting less out of it than I wanted, and I simply did. And I warned him. I said, one of these days you're going to wake up and I'm not going to be there. And it happened.
And was it that dramatic towards the end? It was just the
no,
light
You just
turned off.
packed.
No, when you say dramatic, it actually eased out very good. He didn't even realise, because also I hurt my back, so I couldn't go running every morning with him, which I'd done. So that was really one of the good turning points. And then, while all of this was going on, I went to Paris for an awards ceremony, and I was seated beside somebody he's the most interesting, entertaining human being I have ever met. And according to somebody whose name I can't mention because she's so famous, she said he's the best F-U-Q-U-E I've ever had, and I've had thousands. And I thought, and by then I knew what my attraction was, where men were concerned, and what they're with me. And I thought, no, I don't want another relationship where my heart reposes in his body.
Yeah.
I can do without that.
Yeah.
I thought, I've been there, I've done that. It's going to be either something gentler and more comfortable, otherwise I can't be bothered.
You can't relax otherwise, can you?
You know what this reminds me of? It's like having the real life Bridgerton. You know, it's like the real life Bridgerton, hearing what it's really like to live in, to be in society, and in when you talk about your generation, about marrying for money and having to marry.
No, we didn't marry for money.
Oh, sorry, but you have to marry into society.
You married
only
suitably.
people, yes, suitably. But so, in other words, the people that your parents know, and you have to be going to balls and having drinks. And,
But we still go to balls.
of course, you know, it's like the real life Bridgerton.
My
I mean,
children and
still
I
go
were
to
at a ball on
ball.
Saturday
I don't really go to
evening.
balls that often.
Can we stop talking about balls, please?
Well,
Can I
balls
just ask?
have a lot of appeal.
Well, depends on which ones you mean.
Yes.
So, Lady C, we didn't properly introduce Esther Stanhope. She's a confidence coach. Do you think she needs any help in that area at all? I do not.
I think we should take that one offline. I think we should go straight to the fishbowl of shame or whatever you
Yes,
call
the
it.
fishbowl of shame.
Yeah.
Just wanna get out of here.
Well, here's a question for each of us. If
So
you'd like to
this
take
is
a question.
this is a game that we play just to
Going
get.
for you, Esther.
Thank you.
And we can all answer it, but you've got to. I wrote one particularly because of a conversation I had with Lady C when we came into the room. I don't know who's got it.
I don't know. Can I ask you, what happened to the James that you... Was it James that you eventually detached from? Is he still around, or is he...
He's dead now.
Oh, is he?
He died. He died 7 years ago.
Right. And did you ever reconcile after...
Oh no, we never broke. We
You
never.
still
we,
became still
we,
friends?
I just eased out of, and eased him out, and he was sufficiently a gentleman to understand that, But then I saw him at Wykes, at the Wykes tent at Ascot, about 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years after I'd sort of eased him out. And he was there with his 3 daughters, the elder of whom I'd known very well, and the younger 2 girls, they didn't really know me well. They'd known me as children, but they didn't really know. And they wanted to meet me. So I spoke to them, blah, 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 and they went off to buy tickets. And he said to me, and it was like a knife through my heart, he said, I have shown up every morning outside of the Albert Memorial. because that's where we used to go running.
A run.
Just to see if you
And
would be there.
it was like a knife in my heart, but I did the right thing.
I think that's possibly the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
Oh no, the most romantic thing he ever said to me was, and Diana Wales used to say she envied me for having been told it. He said, I would love you even if you were a goat. Which I thought was so wonderfully romantic, and so did she. I mean,
I'm not sure about that one.
Oh, I loved it.
That is very romantic.
Yeah, that's just about your soul, really, isn't it? Yeah, that's lovely.
Can we swap? Because I can't read that.
Yes. What's
That's a
your
good
question,
one.
Lady C?
You go first.
Can you read it? Is it my writing?
How important is it that your children approve of any man you get involved with? I'm supposed to answer this.
You don't have to if you read
No,
it.
I'm absolutely delighted to. Well, I made the decision when they were very young that because there would be suitors sniffing around and they would want to tell the children X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, and, sort of do. And I thought, I don't want any man polluting my relationship with my children and flexing his muscles at their expense. I also saw that the danger of being a woman alone in a 3-man household was that I could end up being marginalised. And I thought, it's one thing to be marginalised by a father, but to be marginalised by a stepfather who might be playing silly buggers games at their expense as well as my expense. So I thought, unless it was, and Dima, my elder son, Misha never cared, but Dima always, oh, Mum, I love a daddy. And I used to say, the problem is, honey, I have to like the daddy as well. And so I sort of thought, well, no, for all sorts of, I just thought, unless it's like manna from heaven that drops,
Why are you?
I'm not interested. And so, no.
Yeah.
Esther, can you read your question? Because
My question says, can you tell a real pearl from a fake one? I'm going to give you that because I know that you know the answer to that.
She does, and
Go
now
on, you
so
tell
do
me.
I.
Yes, go on, tell me.
Oh, yes.
Share your tip.
Yes.
It's obvious.
Go on.
I mean, you can tell by the luster.
She bit my pearl.
I was going to say, don't you have to bite it?
No, you can tell by the luster, but if there's any doubt, because some fakes are now so good that it's difficult to tell by the luster, then you do the tooth test.
And it has to be grainy.
It has to be gritty against the teeth. Then that means
so
it's
it's
real.
smooth,
If it's
not
smooth,
real.
it's fake.
Right, dogs or people? Would you prefer dogs or people?
Well, there's no doubt.
The D word.
I don't know what the answer is still.
Tell us
D
about
word, I
your
bet.
dogs. Tell us about your King Charles.
Aside from my sons, there is no one I love in the world more than my dogs.
Yeah.
And I thank God every night as Mickey cuddles up to me and Aurora's on the pillow on the other side of the bed above me.
What kind of breed are they?
They are Cavalier King Charles.
Oh, lovely. Oh, so your bag
Your
has
bag
those.
has
Okay,
Yes,
Cavaliers.
fantastic.
yes, my son Dima gave me
Right.
them.
Oh, fantastic.
And they're the joys of my life.
Yeah.
But James gave me my first dog. Tum Tum was our love child. She was the daughter of his Springer Spaniel, Sooty. And I often said, if James had understood that by giving me Tum Tum, and then I bred from Tum Tum, that he was presenting me with someone with a hairier chest and who was going to be at least as loving, he might have thought twice about giving me a dog.
But there's also
There's your
that
own
connection,
competition.
isn't there? Because didn't you breed the dog?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the dog goes on. That connection remains.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's quite romantic.
Are you a dog person? You've got a dog in the house?
Well, do you think I'm a dog person?
Yeah, I think
You've been in my house and met my dog.
I think you're the same as me. I'm a dog person, but you're really a person who loves dogs person. If somebody says I don't like dogs, then I know I'm not going to be romantically involved with them, because that's like saying I don't like eating. It's like, well, come on, it's like
Or drinking,
or
in our
drinking or
case.
breathing. Yeah, I'm a dog person.
I'm
Dogs
definitely
look
more
up to you,
cat.
cats look down on you.
Cats have servants.
Yes, exactly.
Dogs have masters.
I have 2 cats.
I thought you about to say I have servants.
Yes, exactly.
We have them
That's
too,
more
Jan.
likely.
Oh, she's not going to answer that one. She's
I
going to
wish,
smile.
darling, I wish.
She's still whoring for Goring.
The good old days of Jamaica,
Have gone
forever.
and are lamented.
Forever.
What have you got? Breeded? Have special cats like? 'Cause I used to have Maine Coons.
Now, I have 2 rescue cats. They are brother and sister. And I've had them since October. They were 5 months old when I got them. They're very beautiful, but all my other cats were rescued the first 2 were rescued at 2 weeks old.
Right.
So I was their mummy. I had to feed them and they,
2 weeks
and,
old.
Yeah, and Minnie absolutely adored me. I mean, it was because I loved him so much, I tolerated it. In summer, Minnie loved jumping on my shoulders. So in summer, he would leap onto my shoulders.
Yeah.
But in winter, it was okay. And then he died of our kidney disease.
Oh, God.
And then Robbie, his twin, lasted for another few years. And actually, Robbie is in the TV show that was done by ITV, Lady in the Castle, Restoring the Castle.
Right, okay.
And I'm there because I had to hydrate Robbie because he had kidney problems.
Oh my goodness! You need a lot of money for vet's bills. Never mind anything else. Never mind a castle. Well, I think we've covered everything.
We have.
But we'd love to have you back again at some point. I think there's
You're
more to
fascinating.
cover. Yeah. So thank you very much for coming, Lady C. Esther, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
words of wisdom. And see you on the next Suddenly Single.
Yeah, I'm coming up.
On the next episode of Suddenly Single, Jan Leeming will be telling us all about the date we set up for her.
I'm coming